Okay, I gotta be honest with you guys. Every single time we do this, 2K doesn't like us. But I think this time, we might be okay. Or not. I don't know. I already know what happens. You can see what happens. What we do know is that Harrison Barnes has stepped up this season for the Dallas Mavericks. And it seems like he can be a real long-term option for them as a scorer, a defender, and a quality piece for a winning team. And while that's awesome, the rest of the team around him really ain't that great. There's Deron Williams, who, I guess I always knew he was bald, but because his headband isn't on anymore, or at least it's not on in 2K, I realize now that, the guy's bald. He's also not that great of a point guard anymore, due to injuries and always being a little bit too heavy and whatever else you want to come up with. Wesley Matthews, his Achilles injury has made him not as impactful as he once was. He can still be a decent three-point shooter, but his overall efficiency is not there, and he's not what he once was defensively as well, so it seems that he is perhaps a bit of a money sink that isn't exactly worth it for the Mavericks. There is Dirk, who is one of the best players ever. Fortunately, he is up there in age, and it's coming to the point now where he's not going to be a member of this team for much longer, but while he is here, he can still rain down jumpers all day on the defense. And then there's also Andrew Bogut, who, similar to Dirk, has a few good seasons left in him, someone who can be a defender and a rebounder for us, but I definitely would not pencil him in as a long-term option. So that's the starting lineup for you. Pretty much one guy that you can invest in long-term in Harrison Barnes. The rest of our guys are either a bit too old, or in the case of Wesley Matthews, they're just hampered by injuries, and it's too bad. As for the second unit, there's Seth Curry. Might not be his brother, but he can still hit an outside shot, so there is Dwight Powell, who could grow into a starting big man in the league just because decent enough athlete as well as defensive player. But that's pretty much all he has. He has to work on his overall polish of his game. He's shown signs of a mid-range jumper. He's going to have to improve on that. There is Justin Anderson, who was a god in my Nuggets series, but in reality, he's an athlete who can't shoot worth a lick. And that's a problem, of course, if you want to be a high-minutes player in the NBA. There's also Jonathan Gibson, who's 29 years old and may have had a near 30-point performance early on in his NBA career, or at least this season. Hasn't done much since. There's also Dorian Finney-Smith, who is similar to Justin Anderson with the defense and the athleticism. How good can his offensive game become? So Harrison Barnes needs another star, and perhaps that star can be Dennis Smith Jr., who is one of the most acclaimed prospects coming into the NBA next season. And with Dennis, the first thing is the athleticism. He seems like a guy who can live above the rim as well as beat defenders off the dribble, which will allow him to get inside and put up some decent enough scoring numbers. And when you look at a guy like Russell Westbrook and this type of style of game that he has, Dennis is in a similar realm. Is he ever going to be as good as Westbrook? That is a lot to ask for. But he is that type of player, someone who can get you shaking in your boots. He might show up on SportsCenter for crossing somebody up and then finishing at the rim. But the other thing with Dennis that's really valuable is his playmaking ability, as he's shown a natural ability as a passer, someone who can set his teammates up. Seems like an ideal point guard, you know? An athlete, a passer, can beat his guy off the dribble. You want to bring help defense, he's going to find the open shooter. And hopefully this is the second star, or maybe the main star, because we don't know if Harrison Barnes is a real number one option yet, for this team. So what's going to happen over the next 3 seasons with Dennis Smith? I don't know. He does have to work on that outside jumper. He's not perfect. And you see the starting lineup. Deron Williams is already gone. I'm sure he found somewhere else to play. I mean, he can always go overseas if it really gets down to that. You'll see the second unit doesn't really have a main star. Everybody has similar minutes, so we're going to see if anybody can really break out from there, and we suck. But don't worry, because if we've seen 2K Simulator trolling enough times, we know that at any moment they could just flip it around and you can go from losing 10 in a row to winning 20 in a row. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but you pretty much get what I'm saying. Funny thing, Mark Cuban, not too long ago, said that he will not tank, and he wants this team to be trying every single night to win, and they're just not going to lose on purpose to get a high draft pick, with which I say, Mark, I might have to disagree with you a little bit, man. But then again, he also has the perfect roster to tank with because, I mean, Dirk, as awesome as he is, can't play defense. Deron Williams isn't that good. Wesley Matthews isn't that great anymore. So maybe he'll just tank while also appearing like he's trying to win. Of course, there is Rick Carlisle, who's one of the best coaches in the league. Hey, 41 wins in the first season with Dennis Smith. That's pretty damn good. He won Rookie of the Year, which has never happened in this thing before. And Harrison Barnes' scoring was down a little bit. That's a damn good first season, man. 15 points, 7 assists. He even managed to get up to 35% from 3. So Dennis was awesome. He was very efficient. Not anybody else was that efficient. So I'm already looking at Harrison Barnes as the GOAT of this thing. And not GOAT is in the good way. I mean like Chicago Cubs cursed by a goat sort of thing. I don't know what I'm talking about, but Dennis Smith is being awesome. And it seems like he could be the star player of this team. Hopefully Harrison Barnes can follow suit and keep his thing going. Whatever the hell that means. We actually made the playoffs. Can Dennis Smith make an impact against the Golden State Warriors in his rookie season? I mean, the fact that we're already here, and he was the leader of the team, that says a lot. He's pretty much already the best player, given his scoring and his playmaking ability. Do we have a chance against Draymond, Steph, Clay, and the crew? No, we don't, but we still push into 6 games. That's pretty damn respectable if you ask me. So who's going to win this thing in the end? What the hell are these conference finals? The Trailblazers? Hey, shout out to Blazers fans. Shout out to Gold Glove, because I know he likes the Blazers. And of course, he needs the shout out. He doesn't. Now this is going to be a little different. Usually with these videos, I don't go crazy in free agency or anything. But this is the Dallas Mavericks, a team that is infamous for going after free agents. We're going to try to sign Aaron Gordon to replace Dirk once he inevitably goes away. But also, Wesley Matthews is stinking it up at the shooting guard position, so we're going for Gary Harris. And we actually do land Gary. Now, again, I wouldn't normally do this, but this is the Mavericks. They go crazy in free agency, so I think this is okay. We have a young shooting guard now to go next to Dennis Smith, who is also really nice defensively, as Dennis improves on that area of the floor as well. He's the main dude, no doubt about it. We have to go through a youth movement. My only fear is our front court might be really bad on defense because it's still Dirk, and I mean, Bogut could be fine defensively in stretches, but I don't know consistently over a whole season. Can Harrison Barnes step it up, though? I hope Wesley Matthews' feelings don't get hurt that he's on the bench now. I'm sure he'll be alright. Like, well, look, dude, you're down to a 74. At one point, you were a definite starter, but injuries, man, it happens. Hey, we still suck. Now we're 4-4, so I don't know what the hell to make of this 2K simulator thing anymore. But back to that Mark Cuban thing. I mean, the Mavericks in real life, like, they've always been a free agent target, but that was with Dirk, who was one of the best players in the league, and they were always like a decent team. You know, they're pretty bad this season. And I don't know, it might be tougher for them to land free agents this time around, but given that it's the Mavericks, if there's any team that I'm like, maybe it's okay if you put your eggs into the free agent basket, it's probably them. That being said, depending on how Dirk's contract situation goes, he's got a team option for $25 million. That's going to pretty much decide how much they actually have in spending money over this offseason. Durant with the MVP, we sucked and then some. We won like 33 games. Listen, man, I tried, but we still have a few things we have to improve on. Hey, the Cavs beat the Warriors in 7. Shout out to LeBron. Dennis is improving. It's up to 16-8 now. Harrison Barnes' production is getting a little worse, so that's always assuring. And efficiency-wise, I mean, it's really not that great outside of Dennis, man. Gary Harris wasn't good from outside. So we have a star player developing in Dennis Smith. His percentages were actually a little worse this season, but, I mean, you'll see. It works out in the end, if I can spoil it a little bit for you. Harrison, come on, man. I need you to step up. Gary Harris, I mean, I'm sure he'll be fine in the long run for us. But, again, I think the front court, especially of Dirk being pretty bad defensively, I think it's hurting us against some of these athletic teams, man. We need some more athleticism up front. Larry Nance, who is one of my more underrated players in the league today, we sign him up, and I think he can be the perfect pick-and-roll player next to Dennis Smith because he can jump out of the gym, man, with how athletic he is. But he's also developed a mid-range jumper early on in his career. He's the ideal power forward next to Dennis Smith, if I can be honest. And this team can actually be one that can really be effective in the fast break because Smith can fly up and down the floor really well. And then once the ball goes off the rim, I mean, everybody here can run. Powell can run. Harrison Barnes, Gary Harris, everybody can move on this team. So I imagine Rick Carlisle would be smart enough to be like, yeah, guys, let's just run up and down the floor. By the way, Dirk retired, so shout out to him, one of the best players of all time. This has got to be the season, right? This has to be the year that we actually are decent because, well, I don't know. I just hope we are because it's nice to do these and not actually have us be trash for all 3 years. Or we do the thing where we're really good the first year and then we just don't get any better. Holy hell, we suck, man. You know what? Maybe I did some bad luck by signing Gary Harris, or gave the team bad luck if I can use correct grammar. Or maybe not, because now we can't lose. Well, we are kind of losing. We're around 500, so that's a good sign. But then you're going to see, as it goes on, the frickin' sliders changed on their own or something, man. We can't lose. So I think as this season ends, we can see that Dennis Smith is actually starting to work out as the Mavericks go towards a younger thing, at least according to 2K. I mean, this is the Mavericks, so Mark Cuban can pull some wild thing and end up signing like Kevin Durant or something because he's Mark frickin' Cuban. But as far as this goes, we managed to get 48 wins with the young movement of whatever the hell we're doing, and Dennis Smith is officially one of the best players in the league. 20 points, 10 assists, super efficient from the floor. No one else is really that efficient. At least our perimeter guys aren't. But Dennis is in the running for top players in the league, so shout out to him. It seems that, you know what's weird? Every time he gets drafted in this game, he averages like 30 and 10 in his very first season. I don't know what the hell it is about Dennis Smith that makes him do that. Maybe it's the athleticism, I don't frickin' know. But regardless, he's really damn good. And according to 2K, he's going to be one of the best players in the league in about 3 seasons, which means we have no idea how good he's going to be because 2K thinks every single rookie is going to be good because they just kind of have to do that. But I have to imagine this team would be really damn fun because of how athletic it is. Like, of course, Dennis is awesome, but pretty much everybody else, you know, Gary Harris, hell, Dwight Powell and Larry Nance can both finish alley-oops and inside. Round 1, we have the Clippers. This would be interesting because the Clips, of course, Blake Griffin is he's still awesome even though we're like 3 years into the future. Technically 4 years. Is Chris Paul too old? The matchup of Chris Paul and Dennis Smith with Greg Popovich being the head coach of the Clippers. Who's going to win the point guard battle? Who's going to win this damn thing? Can Dennis Smith actually run through Chris Paul, who's like 35 probably at this point? I don't know, man. This should be interesting. Let's see what the hell happens. Can the young guys beat the older guys? No, they can't. We went down in 5 games, and you're going to see that the reason we went down is because of some dude that's not in the NBA right now, or he just came out of nowhere. Dennis was amazing, or at least he was pretty damn good. The Warriors still won it, but hey, you know what? According to 2K, Dennis Smith goes to the Mavericks, and he'll actually be pretty damn good. And this is probably the most optimistic any team in this series can feel up to this point, so I guess that's cool.